And let's go ahead and get started. Rabbi Jenny was going to be with us tonight,
Oh,
but she had an emergency come up with the congregation there in Chicago with her people. So I am going to step in tonight, kind of spur of
oh,
the moment, and be the substitute, so to speak, for tonight. So thank you.
thank
And
you, Maya.
Thank you, Maya. Hi,
yeah.
Chris.
Hi.
Hey, Chris,
Thank
good. And
you,
Mary
Maya.
too. Rhonda and Ted, it's nice we're all together. And let's go ahead and get started this evening. And maybe if you can mute yourself if you haven't already, that would be great. And we'll do just a little stretch to the body, to the friendly body, and a breath to the heart center. Allow eyes to close for a moment as we come together in this time. A sense of smiling to this moment. And with that, a feeling of gentleness and ease as we bring our attention gently to the here and now. And using the breath to help bring that focus to this moment, to reel in mind from past and future, and to have a sense of our energy just settling nicely and gently, and revealing an inner peace that's always present when we tune into it and let go of distraction. And then gently, big deep breath. And as you feel ready, opening the eyes and bringing the attention back into the room. Good. So, nothing like a moment to center a little bit. I thought tonight to tell a little bit, there were so many things I thought, oh, I could maybe tell or talk about, but I thought to talk a little about a mantra and some of the places it leads. I know last week we had Deacon Pat on, and she talked about thin places, those places often where we find ourselves with the awareness of God and that deep, palpable sense of spirit, and those moments that can move us. And sometimes, certainly within Buddhism, we look to methodology or practices that help lead us to those places. And having engaged them frequently and for extended periods quite often, thus the purpose of retreat and long retreat, we find we can resume these practices almost at any moment and start to have some of that energy, that awareness, that upliftment that comes, that feels very much our connection to spirit. So I thought tonight to tell a little about the mantra Om Mani Padme Hung, which is probably, or Om Mani Padme Hung, hum, sometimes if we're talking Sanskrit or we're talking Tibetan. And mantra, maybe I'll explain that. We've had Prema on, she's talked a lot for us about mantra. It's just really beautiful and given us some examples and practices with that. So mantra is a Sanskrit word. It means man, to think, and tra, to steer or protect, which is what we're working with doing when we go in meditation. Mantras are used in many ways in Buddhism. They're recited out loud, and this is said to purify body, speech, and mind because we're engaging all three when we're reciting a mantra. We also use them for visualization practices, which purifies the mind and as an important factor at the time of departure, at the time of death in this lifetime. We want to be able to hold the vision of the mantra and the energy of that and have that pure state as we leave and travel the bardos, as we call it, the stages between this lifetime and the next rebirth or the next realm. And so mantra, very significant. Mantra recitation, silently or aloud, is considered a form of meditation in Buddhism and becomes a very strong practice to get us out of our mind because we offer it often when we are in a more formal meditation as a place to rest our attention. So the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hung, which is probably the most popular of all the Buddhist mantras and shows up in the majority of the Buddhist schools. And some of you probably know, of course, the mantra and have heard it or even practiced it as well. And so the syllable Om, which when we look at the Sanskrit language, it's a spiritual language. And why do we say it's a spiritual language? Because when it's said correctly, it vibrates the chakras, the energy centers within and around and through the body. And so it actually helps move our spiritual energy, open those chakras. And I could go into a whole teaching about chakras, but I won't necessarily do that tonight. And so even the syllable Om, when it's pronounced correctly, it will vibrate. I'm pointing to the lower chakras, the center chakras, and the upper chakras. So the syllable is Om. So we've just brought it from lower to here to up, even that one syllable. So the syllable Om and the syllable, what does it mean? You know, we don't need to know the meaning of the mantras in order to receive the benefits of them, but sometimes, and certainly with our human nature, we're curious. And sometimes when we embrace it at a conceptual level, a meaning, which is a concept, it can deepen the relationship that we have, in this case, to the mantra. So it's sometimes wonderful when we look at the meaning of the mantra and what that is. So with the syllable Om, because it's Om Mani Padme Hung. And so Om refers to the source of all sound and creation emerging first from sound. And it's the symbol of body, speech, and mind. So I'm going to hold up to my camera here a little drawing. Of course, we're all familiar with the Om. So here we go. We have it here. Maybe it's backwards. I'm not sure how it'll appear on your screen. But the body, so this signifies the body. The speech is like that, almost like a little tongue or sound coming. And then this is the mind. And then the bindi or bindu, that dot, represents the enlightened nature of Om, to spark and purify the body, the speech, and the mind, and bring the enlightened awareness forth to the being who would practice or reside in the awareness of Om and the sound of Om. Many great teachers report that when they meditate, they hear the sound of Om, almost like when you hold a seashell to your ear, and we say we can hear the sound of the ocean. So it's interesting when we can tune into universal and energetic pulsations of vibrations, the sounds that come forth from that as well. So that's the Om. And then we have money. And money refers to the jewel and the legend, right? I love the Tibetan Buddhism, or all of Buddhism. You know, so many great cultures, and Taoism too have beautiful legends and stories, as most of the traditions do. And so the legend is that the country was starving with war and violence and hardship, unkindness. And so a very noble person prayed that there be something offered from the gods realm that would help all the people. And so a jewel was presented. It manifested, self-emanating jewel. And it manifested from the heart of Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of love, wisdom, and compassion. Genrizig is his Tibetan name. And this jewel was found by this noble person who knew this was special. And first he bathed it in seawater. And this represented the Nirmanakaya realm of purifying this worldly realm. And then he bathed the jewel in fresh water, and that represented purifying more the astral realms and planes. And then he washed it in sweet water with a little milk added, and that represents the opening to the sweetness of the divine, which is all things. And then he put the crystal high up the top of a banner, and in the wind, it became the wish-fulfilling jewel, and it blessed all the land and all the beings with it. and filled not only everything that they needed, it became the wish-fulfilling jewel, is what we call in Buddhism, the wish-fulfilling jewel. It fulfilled not only their outer needs, but it fulfilled their inner need, and they became compassionate beings. And that's the main component of that legend, is the compassionate aspect that it awakened. And that's considered the jewel in the lotus. And Padma, or Pime in Tibetan, Padma in Sanskrit, means lotus flower. That's the lotus. And of course, we know the symbology of the lotus. It represents purity, something immaculate, that no matter what the circumstances, it's never tainted or becomes impure. And it grows from the mud through the water, raising its face to the light, and there it blossoms. And so that represents wisdom. And wisdom is often symbolized as light as well. And light can shine in darkness, even a place that's been dark for thousands and thousands of years. Light can come and instantly illuminate it. So that's the Padma, or Peme, part of the mantra, is the lotus flower. And then Hung, or hum, as it sometimes is, if it's Sanskrit versus Tibetan. Hung Tibetan, hum in Sanskrit. And it says, this is kind of like the postage stamp. We've made the prayer, we've made our intention through that. This strengthens our intention. So it's like hung or hum, and that's the postage stamp that sends it to heaven and comes in the development or the opening of our intentions and those qualities that we want to actualize. And that's often the prayer. When we say hung, we have that intention in our heart to say, may I actualize the qualities of the Buddha Avalokiteshvara, of love, wisdom, and compassion. And we often will see this mantra in 6 different colors, and this points to the 6 different realms that we acknowledge as suffering realms, samsaric realms in Buddhism. And so when we do this practice, we do it for ourselves. When we do it out loud, it purifies our body, speech, and mind. It opens us to the energy of our own Buddha nature. It blesses the world. It's a very powerful blessing mantra. And it aligns us with the virtues that lead to awakening while clearing the obstacles of our negative emotions, our ego, and leads us on to Buddhahood. So it really is one of the most easy to remember and yet most important mantras that we use in Tibetan Buddhism. With the Buddha, maybe I'll show you here a little bit too. This picture, let me go to another picture. Some of you maybe have seen in Tibetan Buddhism, right? It's kind of like here we have Zen on one hand is Buddhist, on the other hand we have Tibetan Buddhism. It's kind of like the difference between going to the Quaker house and going to a Catholic church with all the relics and implements and all of that. And similarly, Zen, very stark kind of, but in Tibetan Buddhism, oh, we have so many Buddhas and depictions of them and statuary and all kinds of things. This is the Buddha Chenrezig, or Avalokiteshvara. And this is the Buddha that's associated with this mantra. And we can see here his hands in prayer fashion. We call it prayer fashion, but it actually isn't so much a praying mudra, even though it is, meaning often we think, now I lay me down to sleep, right? We put our hands together in folded prayer. And often when we do this mantra, we do it as that. But what this actually is, if we can see, there's a slight space there between the palms of the hand. And this is thought to be the lotus bud. And so that's the mudra, the hand position. Mudra is a Sanskrit word. It means seal. So it's like when we do this, we seal something symbolically that's invisible into the form realm, and the hands become the symbol and the activity of doing that. And so, but we see in this mudra, there's an openness there because the hand is considered the lotus, and the openness represents the jewel is being held there. So that's that. And that's when we do this pranam to another, this bowing respectfully, this namaste to another. It is this idea from my heart, because we hold the hand to the heart when we do this as a pranam to another. To yours, I acknowledge the Buddha in you. And so it's very beautiful that way. So I think maybe with that, if we could do a little reciting of the mantra, if you're open to that, I certainly will recite some. And we'll do probably 21. In Tibetan Buddhism, we use 3, 7, 21, 108, generally as the numbers that we would recite silently or whispering or out loud. And so maybe tonight we do 21, I think some of you may know the mantra. I have a little sign here, Om Mani Padme Hung. The Om Mani Padme Hung. And after 21, often what we do in Buddhism, because we always try to complete a full mala if we can, mala beads, japa beads, sometimes called in the Hindu or Vedic traditions. So we would do out loud with a nice cadence, maybe continue the whole mala. Sometimes we would do, in this case, what we'll do tonight, 21 out loud in a nice cadence. And then we go into, if you've ever been into a Tibetan temple or monastery, you can hear like a mumbling, as people will say. What's that mumbling? Well, it's where we're doing the mantras very quickly and we're hitting some key syllables while visualizing the mantra and the Buddha associated with it, but it'll go much more quickly and not with such a denunciation that we might do when we're doing it with a more formal cadence. So I'll go into that. We'll complete the 108 and you can continue with that too, a little more quickly and inwardly. And then we'll do that as our meditation. So let's do that. So a little stretch to the body and breath to the heart center. Nice posture, so we can feel a sense of inner strength even as we make a nice posture to our body, and chin just slightly tucked so the neck's also alignment with the spine. And sometimes that gives us a sense of that solar plexus feeling strong, or chi feeling enlivened, simply by adjusting our posture and knowing we're going into mantra and meditation. So as we go into this practice, we open to the lineage of all those great teachers that have come before us and all the traditions. We ask that we might aspire to attain the same level of realization as they have, and that we dedicate this time and this time together to all beings, that it might pacify suffering, violence, and conflict. Om Mani Padme Hung, Om Mani Padme Hung, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. to do good, to be helpful, to avoid harming ourselves and others, and to subjugate our own ego, that the light of our Buddha nature might shine brightly. And bless all beings. And gently and easily, a breath at the heart center. And we dedicate this practice. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy of wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may we free all beings. The precious bodhicitta, with those who have it, may it never diminish. With those who have yet not discovered it, may it awaken and flourish. And may we never grow tired of working for the benefit of others as we attain liberation together. Om Mane Padme Hung. And then gently and easily, a big deep breath. And as you feel ready, opening the eyes and bringing the attention back into the room. Thank you. So this awakens the Buddha nature, love, wisdom, and compassion, particularly, which is what's considered the bodhicitta. And that makes the bodhisattva. And that's essential on the path to enlightenment. It's often said we can study, we can have direct realizations of the view, the absolute nature of the divine and the all that is. But if we lack the bodhicitta and that awareness and the activity nature of that, then that can inhibit our being enlightened. That's a necessary component. So I think maybe with that, where are we in time? Oh yeah, I probably should conclude. I'm thinking there's a little story maybe I'll tell about the bodhisattva nature. This is a story about Gampopa. And Gampopa lived in a village, and he said, oh, I'm just not getting anywhere with my practice, and I'm determined to become enlightened, and I'm going to devote the next 10 years to nothing but practice. And I want to have what other people have had. Buddhas have appeared to them. They've blessed them. They've come in auspicious dreams. And I want that level of awareness and connection with the Buddha nature and the higher realms and my own enlightenment. So off he went to the cave, where he practiced day and night for years. I think he practiced 12 years and nothing, not even a dream of the Buddha. He felt he wasn't getting anywhere. And he said, oh, what's the use? So he decided, I'm going back to the village. I'm quitting. This is it. And on his way back, he saw a man who was working on filing an iron rod into a needle with a feather dipped in water. And he thought, that's going to take that man forever. And the man said, but this is my task and I do it with joy. And when he saw that, he was inspired. He thought, I'm a quitter. I'm going to go back to the mountain and sit longer. If that man can do that, I'll be persistent too. So off he went. He sat another 12 years. And he came off the mountain again, discouraged. Nothing was happening. What a waste of time, he thought. So as he's going back to the village on that time, he sees someone who's working on sculpting a stone into a statue of a Buddha, but he's using a kata, an offering scarf. And he thought that will take forever if he's going to do like that. But the man said, but this is my task and I do it with joy. So Gompopa thought, well, I better go back to the mountain again. If these guys are going to do that, let me not quit. So off he goes to the mountain again, and where he sits for another 12 years and still nothing. And he says, that's it. I'm not doing this again. I'm going back no matter who I see or what I run into. I'm going back and no more of this. And so off he goes, and as he's getting close to the village, he sees by the side of the road there's a dog that's nearly dead, and its wounds are gaping and oozing with pus and blood, and there's maggots already onto the dog's body. And when he sees this, he's touched with such compassion for this suffering animal, and he thinks to help the dog. And as he goes to try and help the dog, he sees it could hurt the maggot and the dog to try and move them off the dog. So he thinks the gentlest way to do it would be with his tongue. And so as he goes down to try and remove the maggots with his tongue, the dog, poof, turns into Maitreya Buddha, the first appearance ever of the Buddha. And Gompaba is astounded as he looks at this Buddha. And then he realizes what's happened and he says, "You miserable Buddha, I've been on that mountaintop for decades. Not even once in a dream do you come. But here today, when I'm about to quit, you appear." And Maitreya Buddha smiles so lovingly and pleasingly at Gompopa and says, "It was in this act of love and compassion that you earned enough merit, additional to all your practice you've been doing for over 30 years, that you now attain enlightenment." And with that, Gompapa became enlightened. He was quite happy. He became a great teacher in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And afterwards, he was like, everybody was so pleased with him. And he would say, does anyone notice anything different? And there was one old lady who said to him, "I see something different about you." And he says, "Yes, what is it?" And she says, "I see the corpse of a dead dog on your shoulder." And Gompapa knew he was carrying the merit from his activity. So that's the Gompapa story. And again, the essential nature of the bodhicitta for our enlightenment as a required ingredient. So that's my talk for today. Thank you so much. And meditating together.